On this episode of Hudson Valley Hustle, I'm joined by John DeGasperis, a personal injury lawyer out of Kingston, New York. John's actually been one of our clients for about 5 years, and we've been able to help him build a social media following of over 200,000 followers, so much so that he's been able to start his own law firm. There's a lot of great insights in this episode. I hope you enjoy. What up, DeGasperis?
I'm here, man.
This is it's been a while. You haven't ever come here. It's been 5 years.
So two things. One, it makes me think, how long have we been working together? And then also I wanted to ask, how long have you been in here?
Since 2020. So we've been here for 5 years. This is our fifth year. It's 5 years we're here.
So were you here when you and I started?
I think you and I started right after we moved in here because... Okay. Yeah, it was probably shortly after. So I signed the lease for this place a week before they shut down the world. That's
right about when I started making videos myself.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Because then it was I started to make the videos on my phone and I bought equipment myself and had somebody in my office. And then I realized at some point I needed to elevate the game. And that's when I reached out to you, which was the third time I tried courting you.
Yeah, we tried connecting. We did a project at your old law firm before that.
Yeah.
But
they were just very, it was hard for them to wrap their head around.
Yeah.
They weren't Gary V followers like I was.
That's right. It's my Gary V book. No,
I call Gary V my mentor, even though we don't know each other.
I know.
Although I always wonder if you have you ever seen my videos?
Did I tell you I met him?
You did?
Yeah, I did. Actually, the book right there, I have it signed by him.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, this was oh man, whenever that book came out, I saw online he was doing a signing at his father's liquor store down in Jersey. I was like, oh shit, I gotta get down there. So I went.
Oh, cool.
Dude, the line.
He's got video from that stuff.
Yeah, I was on one of their videos, because his team was going around videotaping people. I made it to one of their videos. Yeah, and
you waited it out. How long were you there?
It was so I had gotten there way before and. I was probably halfway through the line, but the line wrapped in the store. The store's huge. The line wrapped through the store, up the stairs, around the whole top, out the building.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane how fast. I was there probably 2 hours.
You're more dedicated. When I know you now, and when you want something, you're you go for it.
I'm gonna do it.
I would never have had the patience for that. Yeah.
Well, it was like a twofer, right? So it must have been 2016, 2017 because my kid was just born, and I was like, Kara, I gotta go do this because I love this guy. I've never met him before.
Me too. I love him.
So she was like, yeah, go for it. And it's a funny story. I have when I finally got to him. I was like, hey, my wife really supports what I do. I started a business a couple years ago, and she's at home with our firstborn right now. I was like, can you just give her a shout out? And I have him on video. I threw my camera in selfie mode, and I have him on video going, Kara, you're the fucking best.
Are you kidding?
I swear to God.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I want to go to his, what do they call them? The Vayner, he does the big seminars.
VCon or something.
VCon.
Yeah.
I want to go.
I know. I've thought about going, but his philosophy ever since he kind of got me going in the direction that I'm in with social,
of course.
But before everybody else thought it was cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. His content has changed a lot over the course of time. I'm still a loyal follower, but I liked the early stuff where it was more sort of mechanical.
Yeah. Business strategy type of stuff.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Now he's into I think he's going back to business strategy a bit more of the very recent past. But when you said it was twofer, I thought you were going to say I went because I would get to meet Gary and I needed liquor. That's what.
That was the other. That was the other half of the story. Yeah, I totally got sidetracked. I ended up there was a wine that he was a part of releasing, and I wanted to go get it.
Yeah.
So it was I went there before. I went there right when the store opened. Mm-hmm. Did my shopping. And threw the stuff in the car and then got online and then waited for him to come in. I met his dad.
I met,
his dad, because his dad was there just running the show. Yeah. I met D-Rock and a couple other people on his team. Yeah, it was awesome. It was sick. Yeah, it was really cool. It was really fun, really fun time. But yeah, so you've been a lawyer though for how long? How long have you been actually practicing?
So I think as we are right now in 2025, I have been practicing for just over 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I think they say at your 10-year mark, you should sort of be hitting your stride. You really sort of have a in-depth knowledge of a particular area of law or the mechanics of it. And I think that there's some truth to that. At this point, I feel a certain level of confidence, a certain level of wisdom in the law, the procedure, and how to serve the clients, which is in part why I recently opened my own firm.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. So were you working at a firm and then made partner? Like, how does that all work? And I feel like every attorney wants to make partner at a firm. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that for motivated lawyers who want some ownership stake in a firm, partnership is the track. I think it's widely considered that partners make more money. I think in law, that's the natural trajectory. I don't know that all lawyers necessarily have that drive, because there's a certain element to partnership track that relates to business and not just law. But I was a partner for, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years at a very well-established and well-respected law firm. And, to be candid, that did not make the decision easy as I contemplated whether to open my own firm. It made it very hard. I was making really good money. I liked the people that I worked with. But I knew that I was working within someone else's legacy. It wasn't mine. And so the motivation to start my own law firm, and I say my own, I have a law partner, but the motivation was largely to create something of my own. And the money, I was treated very well. I was treated fairly. So the money was not the motivator. And what's interesting, I think to myself, if it was the money, it would have been so much easier. But because it wasn't about money, it was more emotional. It made it hard, the decision.
Sure.
But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, you worked for 10 years to get to that point, right? To get to that point where you made partner at a firm, making decent money, right?
I got on partnership track pretty quickly. And I think, listen, I call myself a small town lawyer, right? I was in a small firm, 4 lawyers. We had about 10 support staff. That life is very different than someone who is working in a white shoe firm in a big city that has international or national level services and client base. That's a very different life. I follow law news every day. I live and breathe this stuff. I love what I do. So I know what that's about, and I've had friends and family in that life. But my partnership track went pretty quickly because I love what I do. So I live and breathe it. And also I have a knack for finding work and finding business. And so to a small firm, if you have a lawyer that can find work and keep the business moving and generating new work, that's a person you want to keep. And I happen to be technically talented as a lawyer too. So
sure, I'm sure that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because people generally are not a huge fan of lawyers.
We are the brunt of many jokes, and honestly, I'm a personal injury lawyer. It's personal injury lawyers specifically, I think.
You're low.
We are low on the totem pole. I'll share something with you, and I've known you now for a long time. I don't know that I've ever shared this. When I went to law school, I wanted to be a lobbyist. I had studied government in college. I had experience in government, and I worked for a law firm that lobbied state government. And at the time, it was the largest lobbying group in the state. And I loved it. And really, it was advocacy within the context of government. And when I went to law school, I thought that personal injury lawyers were the lowest form of legal services that existed. And then I thought criminal defense lawyers were right above that. And that just was my own ignorance. So then when I went to law school and learned more about litigation and then got exposure to all these different areas of law, I realized, one, the good work that personal injury lawyers do, 2, the complexity surrounding the practice. I think it's one of the most complicated areas of law in the world. And who would have thought? I absolutely love it. And, before I was thinking about being a lobbyist where your clients were, not-for-profits, companies, corporations of the largest sizes, car dealerships, hospitals, all these different things. And as a personal injury lawyer, I get to help people. I represent individuals, human beings. And so I'm really fortunate that my course took this windy road and I landed where I did.
So that's fantastic. But you said you didn't really have like a clear vision of that when you went to law school though, right? Like you didn't
I thought I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do.
But your perception of lawyers completely changed. Right?
Oh, yeah. And I think also law school was that first time in my life where maybe for lack of options, to be honest with you, like once I got to law school, I didn't love the first year. So my first year performance with grades, like sort of, took some options off the table. And I think that it was the first time in life when I went to law school where I had an open mind and was trying to like see the field. I told myself, you don't have to be a lobbyist. And because I had an open mind, I got to try all of these different things, which enabled me to ultimately find what I love. So, I told you I want to do this podcast about whether to go to law school, which is a big decision that a lot of people have. And that's one of the things that I plan to discuss is have an open mind. I think you should go to law school with a plan, but it's okay to try other things to make sure that your plan is a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think a lot of students that come out of law school have like, I always think like doctor, lawyer coming out of school thinking like you're hot shit. Like I don't know. I have that perception of that. Do you get humbled really quickly when you come out of law school?
Buyer's remorse. Yeah, I think that the reality is most law school graduates, maybe this is just 51%, but they have buyer's remorse. They regret it because the economics on the legal field are misleading. If you look at millionaires, lawyers are on there, but they're actually after engineers, MBAs, and other economic degrees. Okay. And lawyers do have strong annual salaries, but they are the top performing lawyers. And so the economics are not as, persuasive as one might think. I think that a lot of people use law school as a default entry into a field that they believe will make them rich. And the reality is that most practicing lawyers don't make the money that the average individual thinks a lawyer makes.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with that delayed gratification though? Or is it just because they're not good at it? Because I feel like I wouldn't anticipate like anybody making that kind of money right out of law school, but why do law school students think that? Like why is that? Is it just because of the persona that they create and that they see these top lawyers that are absolutely crushing it and they think that's going to be me day one? Where's the disconnect?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I do think that, a lot of us know a lawyer, right? It's like your neighbor's a lawyer, or your best friend's father is a lawyer, and maybe they pull up with a E-Class Mercedes, and as a young person, that early vision puts you down the wrong path. Honestly, I think that most people are not smart enough to go be doctors. They are not smart enough to do the mathematics required for certain economic, accounting, engineering degrees. And, a lot of lawyers can flub it, right? I mean, like you can get through a tier 4 law school, tier 3 law school with average intelligence, as long as you're willing to like work hard and show up to the class. You can get a C+ and you got a law degree. So I think it's achievable for many, many people. Yes, law school's hard. It is hard, especially the first year, but it's an economic game. If you can afford it and if you have the endurance to get through the schooling, you're in the game. And so what I have learned about the lawyers who make a lot of money, they become specialists. They are the most knowledgeable resource in a very specific field, and the legal industry is moving that way to super niche practitioners, and also they are good business people. These are people that know that finding new work, generating new leads is just as vital to a law practice as doing good legal work.
Yeah, that's a good segue into the business side of things, because I want to talk about the new firm and anything that you've kind of like learned going into your own business as opposed to being a partner in one that was already established.
Yeah, it's been, in so many ways, I'm doing the same thing I always did, but the jump really forced the entrepreneurial spirit. And oddly enough, not until after the decision was made. In other words, like I made this decision to do it. That was like the fear factor, right? That was the just having the guts to make the call. And then honestly, I didn't get hit with the business reality until almost after I committed, until the papers were signed and I was moving. And people are like, well, who's going to do this thing now? And I'm like, oh, that was just taken care of at the other firm. Because the other firm had systems in place. You could judge whether they were good or bad, but it had a system. Mm-hmm. And the new firm had no systems. But
you're the system.
I was the system,
point,
right?
yeah.
So, but that was like I had the wisdom then to make the system, and I had people with me that had experience or business acumen, mm-hmm. operational knowledge, even if it wasn't law, to react to these things. And I keep telling myself, we're in a healthy position because we know where we're weak, or we know where we need to grow, or we know where we need improvement. I think if you were running a business and didn't see those things, you could be misled into believing you're doing better than you are, or you might just like, you might just be struggling. And I don't feel like I'm struggling. I feel that, and I'm like really excited about this emotional feeling that I'm having, which is it's fun. The troubleshooting is fun. It's a challenge. And I'm doing things so much differently. We're having meetings and talking, and there's this like startup vibe. It feels like we're building something from scratch. And so it's fun.
I will tell you just personally, and the guys in my office will tell you the same exact thing. Since we started filming your stuff when you're in your new place versus your old place, your cadence is completely different.
Is that right?
It's yes or no? Completely different. The word might not be correct, but calmer, like, is what I'm thinking of. Like, you just have like this more like relaxed type of a vibe. Do you know what I mean?
It's really weird to hear you say that, but
we're looking at like 100 videos now, right? Where we've looked at 1,000 before, where it's like there's a I don't know. Ever since shooting in your office now, so weird, there's a different you have a different vibe.
I feel I sleep better than ever. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder, and I think like what I've got going on is technically stressful. It's complicated. It's challenging as hell. I know we've got a lot of work to do, but I feel relieved. I think like it was something that I've always wanted to do for 5 to 6 years. No, I shouldn't say always wanted to do. I didn't know that I wanted to do that. I did not get out of law school thinking or that I would open a firm one day, or I wanted to go be in a big firm, partnership track, be in one of these commercial litigation practices. I didn't have the qualifications. I didn't have the credentials. I came from a tier 3 school. I did end up graduating with honors, but it was like too late. And so I had to pivot. I had to react to what was going on. And I realized, all right, well, I can go do well in a small town. Then I figured the personal injury was something I loved because I wanted to be a trial lawyer.
Right. Not all lawyers want to be in the courtroom, right?
No,
Is that
few
true?
are. Yeah, very. I would say less than 10% of practicing lawyers go to a courtroom. Probably
crazy.
even less than 5%. Yeah. The legal industry has changed in so many ways, but mainly, I think, due to the globalization of the economy. And so, lawyers no longer serve these small little villages and towns, right, where they would do wills and contract disputes between people and real estate transactions and some tort claims, divorce. Yeah, no, man. So many legal graduates now are going into general counsel positions. So they are working directly for companies. And that's because these companies now are billion-dollar enterprises. Sure. They have legal departments, but that wasn't a thing way back. So
yeah.
But
that gave you the opportunity, though, to kind of branch out and not just kind of be the...
Yeah, well, I think, one, I was smart enough to see it a long time ago, but also my mentors, they saw it before me. So my mentor, Eli Bosch, he knew early on that he wanted to handle only accident and injury cases. And that was kind of his thing, only accident and injury cases, while so many other lawyers were still being general practitioners. And then I worked for him for 15 years, and I adopted that, and I continue to go forward with that belief. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so cliche, but like jack of all trades and a master of none.
You got
it. That's...
It applies to law more than anything.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because
if you called
breadth
me,
of knowledge.
If a client called me, somebody who I've known for my whole life even, calls me and says, John, will you handle a will for me? My will. We're old friends. I need you to do this. I would say no. I will not do it. I will refer you to someone who I trust, who I believe would do a good job for your will, but I will not do your will. I did one divorce, and I said to myself, I'll never do another one. I've done one real estate transaction. I'll never do another one. I have since transacted in my own life multiple real estate dealings since then. I don't do my own. And I pride myself on knowing what I don't know.
No, that's great. Yeah, and hire out for the stuff that you don't, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be cheaper in the
long
long
run. I don't make my own videos anymore. I went to you. I went to the specialist,
Yeah, that's right.
Thank God.
He's not lying about that either, because I came to him and said, my parents want to write a will. And he was like, nah, here, these guys, like, they're way better. I can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's not because I'm too busy. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I don't feel lesser as a lawyer because I don't know how to do a will. In fact, I'm like, this is awesome. I am so focused on what I do that I'm the specialist. And here's what it does for me. The lawyers who write wills, they call me when their clients have personal injury cases.
But even like in a broader sense of marketing, sales, and all that kind of stuff, it makes it easier to market when you do one thing really well.
Well, I don't pretend to be an expert in marketing yet, right? And I use you like, guide me there
for PI, right? Like if you were trying to get divorce clients, personal injury clients, workers' comp clients, disability clients, bankruptcy, like if you were trying to market all of these things, you could never do them all well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are still big firms that offer dynamic services. But I think the approach to marketing that type of enterprise versus what I've got going is obviously a very different message. And, I'll say this to you. When I was contemplating going out on my own or starting my own firm, I thought to myself, well, should I build a big practice or a small one? Should I try to build a multi-dynamic practice so that I'm offering all these other things? But then I chose New York Injury Law, and that name felt right. And it was like, well, I guess we're going down this pigeonhole. And, that doesn't mean that we can't offer a dynamic service, later on as we grow, and we will, because injuries don't always mean the physical sense, right? They could be an injury to your property. It could be an injury to your job. You could be the victim of discrimination. All these things that fall under tort claims, I could ultimately do that. But yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit, but I thought about all that.
But when you talk about one thing over and over and over again, this thing that you know so much about, it makes you the guy for that thing.
Yeah, I want to be the expert.
That's
I want
what I
to
mean,
be
yeah.
the sought after lawyer in New York State. If you get injured in an accident or due to someone else's negligence, whether it be a doctor or a truck driver, whatever it may be, I want to be the person that all New Yorkers think about when they get hurt.
Sure.
That's the objective at this point.
You have people in California that think of you now because of your TikTok account.
I got a call last night, Joe. It's really wild too. Like if you think about when this all started, because I thought at some point today we were going to talk about what has social media done for me as a lawyer and the service. And like, what is my overall feeling about social media? I have a lot of mixed feelings, right? But I know that it's a tool. I know that people have their eyes and ears in the social media platforms. And to anybody out there who's thinking about getting in the game, some people are better than others and can go viral fast and do a massive following quickly. I don't really think that was my trajectory. We've been doing this for 5 years, and what I think is so great for me and fortuitous is that I invested in something 5 years ago, and it's paying off now. It took time.
Yeah.
It took, we would try these things and it didn't work, and we would try something else and it didn't work, and then we would try something and it would work for a little while, and then
you got to change.
And then you got to change, and we always talk about that. But I'm so glad I did it, because finally, when I decided to do this for myself, to open a firm, I have this brand. And it's hard for me to even think about it like that at times, because I don't mean it in like this braggadocious or narcissistic sense, but I'm just trying to be an objective observer. Whether big or small, I've developed a brand, and it's paying off now. It didn't pay off before. It's starting to pay off now. Last night, I got 2 calls from people injured, one in Massachusetts, one in California. I'm going to find them both lawyers. I'm going to be in touch with those people until their cases are resolved. And social media did that for me.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And I think what you came in at a weird time too, because you started posting a lot on social media when organic wasn't really a thing.
Right.
Think about
so
it.
that time it worked out because we were learning.
Yeah, you were kind of yeah, you're right. You were learning how to be good on camera. You were you were just getting better and better at like delivering messages to the screen. And then the TikTokification happened.
Yeah.
And we were like, dude,
we got lucky.
Get on this thing now. Yeah. And it took maybe like 2 video shoots for that first video of yours to go super viral. And then you were like, I have 20,000 followers overnight. How the hell did this happen?
Yeah, I remember celebrating 50,000 followers.
Yes, that's right. I remember that.
And now we're approaching 170,000. And honestly, like I follow other lawyers, some who have, millions of followers, but let's just say like the next level above, they have like 300,000. 170,000 followers has been so wildly impactful on my life.
Crazy.
I can't even imagine what 300,000 followers looks like.
Yeah,
or what that feels like. It's crazy.
It's wild. Yeah, we have somebody that I think they've crossed the 1 million mark across all platforms.
Is that a million across platforms?
Yeah,
really?
but TikTok is almost 600K.
Wow.
Which is, dude, like the opportunities.
Where do I stand in your customer base here? Am I like 5th down or some shit?
I don't know. Oh, followership?
Yeah.
2 or 3 maybe. You're up there, dude.
Well, if you count YouTube, YouTube's got that
YouTube's
second
a big
chunk.
one for him too. That's right. I forgot about that.
He's got big
followership.
I sort of do the numbers across platforms. I think I'm at like 215, 225.
You're 2 or 3. No, wait. Yeah, it might be like,
bro, you're pissing me
top
off
5.
Right you're pissing me off right now.
You're top 5, top 3. But
bullshit.
you're right. But
what's going on here? We are going to talk about that off camera. Yeah,
it's a Tom problem. It's because you didn't put the red thing on the top.
I knew that was it.
But no, like I want to. We didn't really talk too much about the startup of it. I know we got to wrap up in a little bit, but I want to just go backwards to when you were thinking about starting your firm.
Yeah.
I know you said it's been kind of like in the works for a while, but I remember you told me that you ended up having, it was something like 150 cases come with you. Like you had a solid book of business before you made that jump.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that it's an important thing that people should know, because starting from zero and granted, you did a ton of work building up your brand and building up your book of business before taking that jump. I think a lot of people have the idea before they actually have the proof that it works.
Yeah. So you're definitely right. That should be like a full disclosure. I worked for a law firm, or with a law firm. I was a partner. I owned the business with the other partners. And I think the decision was made for me emotionally and in my mind about 5 or 6 years before I made the decision. I knew that I needed more wisdom. I did not need to make the move when I first felt that feeling. So I was making good money. I liked who I work with. I didn't need to do it, but I was slowly building there. I think that's probably, in hindsight, why we started building the social media, right? And I had my own website. I wasn't trying to compete with my firm, and I don't know that I knew my own objective while I was doing it. But anyway, the decision, I think, was made concrete when I realized all of my clients were going to come with me. So even though many of these clients may have found the firm, I was their lawyer. I don't pass my work off to other people. I interact with my clients. I advocate for them, and they know that. And I'm accountable. And so I had an instinct that my clients would come with me. I did not ever once tell my clients that I was going to switch firms so that I could find out if they were going to come with me until after the firm announced I was leaving. That's how confident I was. In other words, I never went to the clients to gauge how many would come with me. I knew they would come with me, and they all came.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was more than 150 ultimately. It ended up being like a lot, like 175, something like that. I lost 2, and both of them were like junky cases, weirdo clients who were just awful to work with.
Yeah.
They all came. And so to the lawyer out there who's contemplating opening their own firm, so many lawyers are hanging out a shingle and waiting for that first case. I was a law firm overnight. I had work immediately, which was so awesome. Now I got a fee split, I got to pay the old firm what they're entitled to, and that's all part of our dissolution agreement. But
you have a bunch of runway.
I got runway. Yeah. I've got cash flow. It's not the same cash flow as it would be if I owned the case 100%. I've got work, and you know what? I don't know if you would agree with this, but from the little I know about marketing, at least in the legal industry, the greatest opportunity to market my services is to the existing clients.
That's almost any industry.
Right. It's like word of mouth. So if I get a good result.
That's right.
And then now with TikTok, or just social media in general, that 175 that I started with, we've nearly doubled it in the first quarter. It's wild. It is wild. Now, it's not just my videos. I don't want to mislead. Yeah. But you know what happened? Because I made, and here's like my take on social media. It didn't make the impact I thought it was going to make. It made a different impact. And so the reason I was able to almost double my case count was because through social media, I met a lawyer who advertises in social media, and he does a better job than I do, but he gets all of these cases from New York. And he's just referring them to me. So I didn't make the impact I thought I was going to make, but I made a different one.
You made a connection.
That still paid off. I touched some lawyer, a great guy who's been incredibly generous and a mentor, even though he's younger than me. Social media.
It's crazy.
I would not have thought it. I would not have. I didn't design it that way.
Yeah. That's definitely not the local I'll do your will guy. This is like It's crazy.
I know that I can't rely on that, but what it enabled me to do it enabled me to focus on systems. So I'm not worried about where the cases are coming from because I just happen to have untapped this source. Now, granted, I got to pay fees, and that's why I got to, pay referral fees.
Sure.
But I'm not worried about marketing this second. So I can slowly turn that up and figure it out. But before I can take more cases, I got to be able to handle them.
Right. Well, it's not a faucet either, right? Like marketing's not a faucet that you could just turn on and off.
Yeah, right.
And I want to just touch on the word of mouth stuff because like, everybody will tell you word of mouth is the best form of advertising because it is, right? If I recommend you to this person for this service, you're going to take my recommendation probably over a billboard or a video or anything like that. It's going to be more valuable. The problem with word of mouth is you cannot control it.
I think you can.
Enlighten me.
Do good work.
Yes, no, what I'm saying, but you don't know exactly when your next lead's going to come in, right? Like that's the tricky part. Like that's what I mean.
So for me, our businesses are probably different because I think having worked with you probably have a very intimate client base. Like you probably can't handle more than X number of clients.
At this scale.
Yeah. I have like a volume practice, right? So based on what I do in my business model and what I learned at the other law firm, I sort of approach it with volume. Now so that means I'm touching a lot of people every day. And so if we do good work, I'm touching. I'm like seeing the humor there. So digitally, right? No, I mean my law firm.
Even then, you got to be careful.
Yeah, right. My law firm is servicing a lot of clients every day. So if we do good work, get the brand in front of them, and get results with that type of volume, it's just going to turn over the word of mouth at a rapid rate. And we know that. So like internally in this new law firm, our greatest marketing effort at this moment is do good work for the clients we have.
Yeah, that's just a good rule to follow, right? And it sounds like, dude, it's so crazy that you have to still say do a good job because I feel like so many industries suffer from shitty customer service that like that the industry is tainted, right? Like home improvement, for example. I have a horrible taste in my mouth with home improvement. Any like service-based industry, like if you're just good at taking care of what you're supposed to take care of, you're gonna do fantastic. Like the bar is so much lower than what it's supposed to be.
It's interesting. When my law firm is digital, so we use a cloud-based software program to manage the cases. We don't use paper. When I started years ago, though, all the files were paper, and we used to keep the files in what we call a Redwell, right? It was an accordion file that would grow over the course of time as you put more stuff in it.
Is that what those files are called? Like the accordion one?
Redwells, yeah.
That's what it's called?
They were kind of like a maroon paper. And I remember at the old firm, there were so many cases, not enough filing cabinets, so files would go on the floor. And I started a policy that we're not going to put files on the floor. And everybody thought, why? And I said, because they're valuable assets to us and to the client. And you wouldn't put a piece of jewelry on the floor in your house. You wouldn't put an expensive vase on the floor in your house. So that was sort of my first reckoning with, okay, the files are important to the client. We have to treat these files with the utmost respect. And by treating the files with respect, that ultimately means we're treating humans with respect. We're treating our clients with respect. We're prioritizing their injuries, their problems. And I'll tell you, that's why I'm succeeding in this moment. I'm not saying I'm going to always be a success, but in this moment, I am succeeding with this transition because I treated my clients well. This was, I invested time in personal relationships. I made myself available. I answered their questions. I would work late. I would take the calls in the car. My family knows we're doing it. On vacation, Dad's taking the calls. In the car, Dad's taking the calls. I'm not saying I'm doing it the right way, but that's why 175 clients came with me.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Do you ever see yourself getting to the point where your caseload is lower and you focus more on the business now, seeing what it's like to do more of like the running of things?
Yes. And I think that it will take some time, but I am actively designing that. Because I've been doing it now for a while, and I've saved up the money and I built the client base. So yeah, I want like a little bit better quality of life. I want to start hitting grand slams. I just got a verdict a few weeks ago, my biggest ever verdict for $3,250,000 on a case where the insurance company was paying max $600,000. I want more of that. It was such a thrill and it just happened to be like, again, and I'm so fortunate the way the world works and the timing of this all works. So 2 weeks before that verdict, I settled the case for $2.4 million. I want to be in that game. And so what I'm going to do is build a law practice that serves injured people. We're going to help a lot of people. And within it, we're going to build departments. And we're going to have those files that are worth, 25 to 50,000. And then we're going to have a department where we're working up cases that range from like 100 and 300,000. And I want to be working on big cases that mean a lot from public policy perspectives. I want to help people who have suffered really big losses because we can make an impact. And I love taking money from insurance companies.
That's your thing.
That's my thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like you were originally went to law school to become a lobbyist and, is it weird now that like you're taking money from these big organizations, sometimes the government, you've sued the government.
Yeah.
Like how does that?
Well, I mean, when I worked for this lobbying group, which by now was like 20 plus years ago, they represented insurance companies. I remember we represented car insurance companies in front of the state government. So, and now I do the exact opposite. I represent humans and I'm going into these corporations, kicking in the doors and I'm saying, where's the money? Is it weird? No, but I see the dichotomy and the mind shift. I'm on the better side of the aisle. This is great. This is awesome. When people call me, they're like in their dark time, right? There's so much uncertainty that surrounds somebody who suffers a big trauma. It takes them out of work. They're afraid for their health and their finances. It can be hard to guide people in those situations because they're not always seeing things clearly. And I know that my objective is to see the terrain objectively. How can we go help these people? How do we get to the insurance money that will make them secure at home?
Yep. And that's why you have 175.
Yeah. Clients. We've been doing it. It's wild, man. And yeah, I'm really fortunate. I think like when I work with you guys seem like you like your work and you're specialists, you know it. I'm always hearing you grow with your technology, the podcast, the ideas, the concepts. And I'm fortunate that I like what I do too. I really do. I don't think it's not work.
A lot of people don't feel like that. Yeah, unfortunately. Work, yeah. A lot of people don't feel like that getting up every morning to go and do work, but I feel like this if you can find that thing that you enjoy. I haven't had the Sunday scaries in over 10 years.
What is a Sunday scary? That means
Sunday
you don't
night,
want to go to work Monday?
You're dreading going to work Monday morning. I used to get it when I used to work at the radio station. I used to get sick.
Really?
No, I'm serious. I used to get nauseous when I would approach this specific stoplight on 9W going towards the Mid-Hudson Bridge, dude.
Yeah.
I still go through that every now and then, and I'm like, I used to get physically sick here.
Do you have like stressful days at work?
Yeah. Of course you do.
Sure.
Like anytime you're dealing with a number of people, because it's all out of your control, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how somebody's going to react to something if things aren't going well, if just shit happens, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter how happy you are at work. Stuff's still going to go wrong. You're still going to have to put out fires. You're still going to have to deal with difficult things, right? Like I'm, dealing with a client now, like longtime client that's just like unresponsive. And I'm like, I got to lose $3,000-$4,000 a month because I have to.
Right.
And it's just the way it's part of comes with the territory. But that doesn't make me sick to my stomach when I leave my house to go to work.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I have no idea how much money you make, but I think you've always sort of given this persona out that for you, it always seems fun. Everything you always seem to be approaching life or work from like, well, that sounds fun. Your golf, the Legoland, this seems like a hobby to you. I think that's really cool. Admittedly, for me, I think just like where I came from in life, I was one of those people who went to law school because I wanted to not have money issues. I wanted to go make a lot of money. And then believe me, I got into law school and I'm like, holy crap, like I'm not going to make a lot of money. I could see immediately that not all lawyers make a lot of money. Year one in law school, I knew 80% of these people are not going to be happy with their income. I knew it immediately. I seriously thought about dropping out of law school in my first year to go be a UPS driver because my grandfather drove for UPS and retired a millionaire. And I thought to myself, we're done. Like I'm out of here because this isn't going to work, and I'm going to have $150,000 worth of debt. And I actually, one of my best friends from law school, he and I have this ongoing joke about the time I said to him, we should go work for UPS. Like we should cut this off and go work for UPS. And I still I still find myself with this internal battle about like, okay, there's a way to be happy or to do what you like to do, and you don't have to worry so much about the money. But that's like a personal battle that I deal with. Yeah.
Listen, don't get me wrong. Like I was making great money when I left so this is going back 2014, 2015. I was making over six figures in a sales job, and I was like, money was not a problem. I left to do something from nothing. Yeah. Because I was like, because the thought of this being able to do more than that was like the fear of loss greater than the desire for gain. My desire for gain.
Fear of loss. Say it again.
The fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. Okay. That's what stops most people from going and doing this. Yeah. I was the complete opposite. I was like, this thing is going to fucking crush. I'm going to be able to make it so my wife doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to because she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. I was not going to be able to do that working for somebody who I was under their control, under their reign all day.
Yeah, I remember your confidence early on when I first interacted with you, even before we started working together. I struggled. I really struggled to get to that point. I was scared.
I talked to you about it, and you were like, you said I sounded way more confident in you than you sounded confident.
You did. Right. I remember the time when I told you, and you were like not emotional about it at all. And I'm like, what this dude like? And then you were just like, and I said, what do you think about that? And you were like, well, you're a good lawyer, right? And I said, yeah. And you were like, you'll be fine. And
was it that nonchalant?
You were so casual about it.
That's hysterical.
And actually, like honestly, it was one of those little stepping stones where it was like, and honestly, that's what that I think at some point it just hit me. But so many people were supportive, and I think that did ultimately push me, and it's still motivating me because the community around me has been so supportive. And you know what, too? Like in my community, if I had stayed where I was, I would have taken it over. It would have been fine. But it was somebody else's legacy. They built it. There's a law firm in town where two brothers inherited their father's name and brand. And I give them all the credit in the world. They're two friends of mine, and they're doing a fantastic job continuing what their father built. And again, it just went to this issue about like what is going to be mine, and this idea of building something from the ground up is I'm living in that moment, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm gaining confidence because I'm gaining momentum. So yeah, I don't know, man. But I struggled with the decision to make this leap. I had the golden handcuffs. It was difficult to break myself free.
Worth it?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
It's early days.
It's early days. And I thought to myself the other day, should I yet be saying it was the best move I've ever made? I think it might be too early for that because it's just so early. I'm in the first quarter. But damn, man, I'm off to a great start.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, how can people get in touch with you? We went way longer than normal, but that's okay. I enjoyed this. This was
cool.
This was good. No, I really thoroughly enjoyed this. How can people get in touch with you if they want to either hire you, follow you on social, give us all the shit?
All right. Well, on social, I don't even know my handles though.
All right, you're Jay DeGasperis Esquire on like TikTok.
Oh yeah,
and
so
stuff
TikTok.
Like that. I think they're all different. Just look up John DeGasperis. You'll find it.
Right. I think by now like TikTok will serve my video, but yeah, I think it's Jay DeGasperis _ESQ.
That's only because we couldn't change that one. That's not our fault.
I know that one's tough. We should try again soon, but Yeah, so my name is John DeGasperis. My main office is in Kingston, New York. I am one of 2 founding partners of New York Injury Law LLP. We are winning for injured New Yorkers everywhere across the state. The website is New York Injury Law, New York spelled out, newyorkinjurylaw.net. The telephone number is 845-777-WINS. That's 845-777-9467.
WKQT. Like it's like, I don't know.
I've been trying to say it too because I want to drive this wins home. Our like slogan right now is a new era of winning because of the new partnership. I think we'll run that out for like 12 months.
So much winning. Just so much winning.
So now if I do a video for the firm, because you know what, man, and like this is cool with like social media. Well, I'm back to Facebook. Facebook's been crushing for me. If I get 2,000 views on Facebook on my personal page, that is a much different hit than 50,000 on TikTok because those 2,000 people are right in my town.
Yeah, it's your
so
circle,
I'm back
sure.
to Facebook. You know my feelings about Instagram. Fuck Instagram.
That's a great way to end it.
Instagram. Hashtag fuck Instagram.
Yep. So we can't put this on Instagram.
All right, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Dude, thanks for this was 5 years in the making, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
to
right.
get you
Good
over
for you,
here,
man.
but
You finally made it happen.
thank you for coming out. This is gonna be good.
All right, cool, man. Glad to be here.